All right, what's going on, community? So, we are going to give you somewhat of a sneak peek as to what goes on in our one-on-ones. Now, we have Gerardo here, who's part of Gabe's Longevity Club. So he gets me twice a month, maybe more. Depends how nice I am. Actually, it depends on how good of a student he is. But we do this for better part of a year, over a year. We're at or about a year. Now, Gerardo has made some significant progresses. Gerardo, you want to go ahead and share that?
Yeah, so well, I guess I'll give the community since everybody knows that we've been talking for a while. Yeah, like after the first call, it was definitely like ironing out all the mistakes that I was making and getting me like first of all on the 5 minute versus the three, getting me to just focus on market hours, focus me on less trades, and so that worked really well when I was on my practice account, and I was like, sweet. Second call came in, and Gabe's like, I think you're ready. Try Top Step, do it. Got in Top Step, and all that habit, all that discipline went away because I was like, I want to pass, I want to pass. And all the old shitty habits came. And so by the time that I had my third call with Gabe, it was quite embarrassing to have to like show my numbers to him and be like, dude, yeah, I crashed and burned. Like I just started going off, not following everything that I had done that first after that first call. So he got me back on track. He's like, dude, just freaking stop trading in the evening, stop trading pre-market, stick to the focus. Just you know what you're doing. You're just screwing yourself over by doing that. So got back on track and things were going pretty smooth. And then I got a little cocky where I was like, all right, well, I'm going to start trading CL and GC and SI and EES. And these evaluations can't take that. Like I'd be in three trades at once sometimes. And if all three go against you, I'm down negative 750 because my max loss that I'm going for is 250. And so unfortunately, I blew some more evals. I blew a funded account that had actually passed. And just via my journaling, that was like my big aha moment where I'm like, I can't be going in and playing multiple tickers. Like I need to just focus on one or two at the max. And so I narrowed it back down to just ES and GC just because I love how GC moves. And so now I'm back on track. Now we're going to go through, my stats on how I'm doing since that big kind of like aha, me kind of stepping back and be like, all right, I have the discipline thing down. I'm doing market hours only. I'm doing my perfect entries. I know where I'm going, planning on exiting. But again, I was just over trading too many tickers. Like these prop firm challenges just can't handle it. Maybe down the road when I build one up and all that, then I can go back to that. But in the meantime, no. So we'll go through some of the trades today from this week, anyways. Just some of the issues that I've had, or some of the things that I'm kind of like, okay, what do you think about this? And yeah, so that's where we're at.
Okay. So, first off, Gerardo, I have to ask you the system and the way we have it now, illustrating the trades and the simplicity of, the rules based on the strength of the RSI and the Trend Plus 3000. Uh, what's your experience with that? I know you paper traded it for a day, just to see what it was like.
Yeah, so the first day was a little just kind of getting used to the new tools. So it's kind of like, oh, I'm pulling away from something that I felt like I finally had developed my habit of like, okay, I'm going in perfect entry, doing this, and just kind of like robotic about it. And so having the new indicators did kind of throw me off a little bit just because I'm like, all right, now I gotta look at this. But I knew in your video you're like, hey, don't use this as an entry signal, just use it as your trend signal. And so it's a little bit psychology in my mind of like, okay, how do I go about navigating with them? But now that I'm 3 days in, now I kind of see the light of like, okay, now I'm seeing how this works. Now I'm seeing what that actual ideal entry is. Or now, hey, don't stress so much about that perfect exact entry point and be like, just be a little bit more patient. Just let the play kind of play design popped up. Doesn't mean that I need to go in right away. It's kind of like get a few more candles in if that's what you need to, trust indicators, and then just go in and go. And on the few that I've been able to do that, it's been beautiful. It's been like, oh man, yeah, this is awesome. But I'm still having to, unfortunate for me, break that habit of like wanting to have perfect entries on a trade design, which is just something that, like I said, I've just been doing over and over and just kind of analyzed it through my back testing every day to see like what happens if you go in perfectly here and you exit here. And so I have a lot of data to see like, oh, what could the day have turned out into versus what I did.
Correct. Correct.
So it's just a little bit of I need to work on myself on that.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, well, remember I shared with you, right? It's the biggest mistake that traders make is they attempt to perfect the trade as opposed to perfecting the trader, right? And so obviously, like we could go ahead and just really, really dig in deep and say, okay, well, this is the perfect entry, but the only thing capable of a perfect entry would be like a bot or an algorithm, right? As humans, we need to see more confluence for, yeah, I guess a higher degree of clarity and or certainty when we're entering the trade, right? And so that's basically what we see here with trend trend thrust 3000 and the RSI strength indicator, where it gives you that additional confluence based on the rules where we talk about trading away from the EMAs, right? So when all of those things align, you have a higher degree of clarity. Now, you took a trade this morning. I want to talk about that trade. Uh, what happened
Yes.
there? Because you nailed it.
Very early in the morning. It's about 6:10, I think.
All right. We want to let
Um,
everybody know what asset this is. Which one?
this is GC.
GC. Oh, you like torture, don't you? All right, let's go.
No, GC is so smooth. It's I mean I love it, and it's also like clockwork. Like you have to get in 6 a.m. MST, and it usually like it does something wicked.
Gotcha.
But what happened first on this one was I got in a little too early, like 6:10. I noticed, I mean, just all of them were, the old RSI, the old MACD, and the new RSI2, and the trend were like all red. And I was like, sweet, I'm going in. I forgot the data was dropping at 6:15. And so it blew past my stop loss and just, it was crap. So what I only went in with one account on that one. Unfortunately, it hit my distance to drawdown. And so I was like, crap. So this is the other account then that I went in, and I'm like, all right, well, still showing strength. So I decided to go back in again, re-entering at the perfect entry, set my stop loss halfway in the red box, and then got hit on that one. So I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, I'm done. At that part of the morning, I'm like, all right, this trade's done. I'm not going to play it again. And then I saw the new trade design flicker. So that's where you'll see me entering a little bit early prior to the actual trade design. And so I got in on that one. And then my emotions were kind of, kicking in at this point because I'm like, crap, I just blew one account and now I just hit stop loss. And so I kind of got myself out of the trade too early, like prematurely, just because I was more emotional than anything rather than just realizing, hey, everything just went green, dude. This is go. And so I took like 5 minutes just as a breather. I'm like, all right. And then you'll see finally me just committing and being like, no, dude, right here and what it's telling me. And so that's where you'll finally see on the third candle going up, I finally re-entered the trade. And I was like, everything's green, good to go, just trust it. And so at that point, I set my stop loss and then I went and had breakfast. And I'm like, I'm just going to wait for secure the bag signal to let me know to exit. But what happened is right before market open, I came in and looked at this and I'm like, crap, dude, bell's about to ring, market open. What's going to happen? Am I going to get some crappy doom candle or something? So I personally chose at this point to exit out of the trade versus just trusting like, hey, everything's still looking amazing right now and just sticking it out and being able to carry it all the way through. I kind of just played defense at that point. I'm like, hey, I'm at a 3-1. Don't be greedy. This is great. This is a good return. Don't chance it for when the bell opens and potentially just slamming down on me. And so I got out of the trade at that point in time. No, so then you'll see me coming up here. And so this is me knowing fully well that I'm going against what you have taught us and what you have given us. Because right here, I get the next XL signal and everything's still green. Everything's still saying, hey, dude, you shouldn't go in. You shouldn't go in. But I went into it with mindset again, stop loss halfway through the red box, and I said to myself, I'm only going to go to 1R. That's all I'm aiming for. And that's exactly what happened. So I was able to secure that profit right there and get out of the trade as it hit the 24 EMA, and I was out. So that one I went in with the mindset of like, take just a small gain because I know probably shouldn't be going into this trade expecting anything more than that.
Okay. Okay. Now you've been curating some stats here. So I mean, based on your stats, you know exactly what you're doing. Um, what I want to ask you is like as the engineer of your trade, when you're in the trade and you're attempting to, I guess, navigate the trade. What do you feel is happening to you? You know, eh, do you feel like doubt settling in, or is it a sense of urgency, excitement, fear? What's happening?
In the mornings, and you'll see this when I show you Monday and Tuesdays because it's a similar story. It is the morning excitement of like, all right, I'm going in. First trade. Let's do this. Like I'm pumped, like I did my journaling the day before. I got my mind mentally set as to what I need to do, what's my ideal, entry, stop loss, exit signals and all that, or alerts. So in the morning it's very much excitement. And then what happens if I take a loss right away, then that's where my emotions kind of I'm like, crap. And then I get more into the mindset of like, okay, where's the next one? Where's the next one? Versus pulling myself back and being like, all right, dude, patience, patience. It's okay. You lost that one. When I finally get into my groove, which sometimes it takes me 3 trades, then I very much go into a mode of like, I'm entering, I'm setting my stop loss, I'm setting my alert to let me know to exit. And then I just leave the computer. I just go in the kitchen, go cook something, go read a book, and that's like when my stress-free trading comes in, where it's just like, dude, just trust it. Like you have your thesis, you're looking at what the indicators are saying, just trust it. I don't need to sit here because too many times when I've sat in front of the computer and watched a chart, then like no, secure the bag comes up really fast, and then I exit right away, and it just happened to be like a flash. And had I not been there and just kind of walked away, I wouldn't have exited good plays. And it's happened to me multiple times where that kind of occurs. Or I start looking at the candles themselves and being like, oh, I'm going to close out now versus, dude, just trust the plan. Wait for your alert. If your alert's at 2 to 1 and 3 to 1 and secure the bag, wait for those before you do anything. And so, too many times, like when I'm not trading with that relaxed confidence, I find myself doing that. But like I said, when I get in the groove, then it's decided to forget it. And like through all my stats that I do, like at the end of the day, when I'm looking at trades from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, the data's there that shows me like you will be profitable if you just set it and forget it. Just set your stop loss halfway into the red box for me. I mean, that's what I'm doing. And then what happens at 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, or secure the bag? Like you don't like I don't need to stress myself out as much as I do.
Well, there you go. There you go. Well, I mean, setting, I think we talked about this in DM, but setting a price alert at a take profit one, take profit two, right? And then moving your stop up to take profit two and just letting it go. That would be right up your alley as far as like your strategy or your variation to the strategy. So your
Yeah.
goal is to, maximize the trade and be as efficient as possible, right? And it's almost impossible to, be able to predict like, oh, well, we're going to get a 6 to 1, right? So I guess for you, I have to ask you, at bare minimum, what are you comfortable with? Is it a 1 to 1, 1.5 to 1, 2 to 1? What is that?
For me, I'm aiming for a 2 or 3 because I do have like that alert. The first alert that I have is at the 2 to 1 so that I can move to break even. And so at that point, I'm kind of like, all right, that's the first time that I would look at the computer again, when I'm in a very relaxed state where I'm like, okay, I'm going to come back, move this up. How are we trending? Cool, we're looking good. And then my next alert is 3 to 1. And at that point, that's when I start deciding, like, okay, that's where like my mind kicks in, like, don't be greedy. Like 3 to 1's great. This is awesome. I mean, I can end my day like, there's days that like first trade, I do get that 3 to 1 right away. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm like, I'm going to go snowboard
So I
today.
have to ask you, if you had a $100,000 portfolio and it was your own money, and you risked 1% of it, right? Um, would you be okay with a 2 to 1?
I probably would be. I'd probably just be like, all right, now get out of 2 to 1.
Right. So do you feel like,
Especially with the fact that I'm going halfway in the red box. So I'm like risking half for that 2 to 1 on a design, which, like you've mentioned, that's actually a 4 to 1
okay,
based on the risk that I had.
okay, okay, fair, fair. So, uh, do you feel like because at this moment you're undercapitalized uh, that that's what's causing your nervousness? Or undercapitalized and or trying to pass the prop firm, because again, if we had a $100,000 port, you would be 100% okay with taking a 2 to 1, correct?
Yeah, I think it definitely right now for me is all about like these prop firms, like trying to just pass and trying to like secure that. And as many as I've unfortunately blown, and it's more due to the fact that I'm doing the copy trader, so it's not like I've gone through that many times. But I think it definitely is that where it's just like, all right, I got to squeeze just a little bit more because that gets me that much closer to passing this versus just being comfortable and being like, I'm gonna call it a day at 2 to 1 and just go on with my day. Like right now, like if I get that, like I'm like, well, it's only 8:30 Mountain Standard. I got another hour and a half, and I know there's potential out there. And so sometimes I'll like keep going versus just
All
calling it
right.
quits.
So going back to the origin of the question, if you had $100,000 and you risked 1% and you made $2,000 on a 2 to 1, you would be done. You would be a okay, or do you feel, the Gerardo, and you would say, hey, let's keep going?
I want to say, won't know until I get there.
I
That I'd be
heard that
very
earlier
content.
today.
And
Trust me, I
actually,
don't like that answer. I
one of the
heard that on
things,
a one-on-one earlier today, referencing a different question that I do not want to share. But um,
well, I'll be honest. Like, I recently got a job offer like a week ago, and they gave me like, oh, here's what your salary is going to be, and I kind of calculated out to like what the hourly is, and I'm like, dude, like I got to remember this when I'm in a trade. When I make 500 in like 30 minutes, I got to remember that to be like, all right, I could either be going back to the office and having to work 8 hours behind a desk at driving in to make very minimal, or this. And it's funny how I think we get so caught up in where it's just like it's a number. Oh, it's 250, it's 500, it's 750 that we forget that value of it. Like, what is that really? Like 500 in like half an hour? Just leave. Like, I think we kind of lose sight of that. I know I do
well,
at
yeah, I
times where
think,
like I should just be like, oh, here's my 2 to 1, call it a day.
yeah.
Like, let it compound.
Um, so the way I trade, I'll share this, right? So, um, whenever I see a dollar amount in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if I realize this right now, what can I buy? Right. And I'm always, thinking about the value of that dollar, right? So it's easy to lose sight of it because it's you're detached from it. It's just some digital number there, and you're like, oh my God, it just keeps going up effortlessly, right? And so you just get like hooked on that number. It's just going up and up and up. And you sort of kind of like lose value or lose sense of what you're or why you're in this, right? So the only reason why I'm mentioning this is because mechanically, based on what you've shown me as a trader, I think mechanically you're sound. You're as good as it gets, at least at this point of your career, right? As a trader. Now, the thing that's preventing you or the thing that's causing you to plateau is, the emotional intelligence in the trade and or valuing, the return on that trade. Because you think about it, when we're in a trade, we're making thousands in a minute, whatever, but we're not contributing anything to society. It's not like, when you go to work, you're contributing to the goal of the company, or you're contributing to the goal of the team, or you're contributing whatever. But when you're in the trade, it's just so self-serving, right? And so we just get caught up in that. um, and I'm glad you asked yourself that question about like what is this trade worth relative to what I make an hour, right? It makes you value it more. because $500 an hour, or excuse me, $500 a day is 125,000 a year at or about, right? 800 is 200K. And how many times, especially you playing gold here, how many times have you seen $800 in a trade?
Oh, a lot. Yeah, multiple times. Corey, it's like I said. I mean, I track all this. I track every trade that happens between 6 and 10 a.m. on these tickers, and I see like, oh, okay, this day, if you have this entry and this exit. So
To you is okay. So you said you see $800 pretty frequently. Um,
here, let me shut my alerts off. Hold
okay.
on. I'm trying to figure out. Oh snap! Look at that. 3,200 right now. 3,500 on this practice account.
$3,500.
4,250. 4,100. I'm out. Let me close this. Hold on.
All right. 4,100 on one trade.
Yeah, on that one.
Okay.
It was my practice account, but still, like I'm just yeah, I see those and I'm like,
Well. Okay. So now I will ask you this, right? And I think that a lot of people actually experience this, where they're in a practice account, right? And they do so well, but then when they go into a live account, they end up just wrecking it, right? And so now, if that was your own money, would you have held through that play?
based on what you're teaching
Okay,
us,
good,
yes.
good. And did you protect your entry on that play? Okay,
Yep.
I have no problem with that. Absolutely not, right?
Yeah. I had my stop loss set and it was just towards the later part of 9 a.m. my time, and it just kind of just started plateauing, but it never got anywhere close to my stop loss, and I just had all my alerts set for, as you just
Okay,
heard, for when things were going to be start triggering, and that's exactly what just happened. Which is
good. Okay,
I would have definitely stuck. I mean, it's one of those trades that like I'm at that point, like I've traded earlier in the morning where I did screw up this morning. I got into one decent one. By this time, that's when I'm like finally relaxed. I'm like, set it and forget it. Just let it do its thing. Let the alerts come to me, and then I will review it later. But it always takes me like a few trades in the morning to get to that relaxed state of like, all right, dude,
okay,
you got this. You know what you're supposed to look for.
okay. So, do you want to change your routine in the morning then? Like you wake up and instead of opening the charts, maybe go for a run instead. Just get that energy.
Oh, I have a morning routine. I wake up, I meditate, I go and have breakfast, protein shake, go stretch. Like I have a whole mindset of like before I even open the charts. I used to be like up and charts right away, and that would screw me over like way bad. Where it was just like, no, dude, what are you doing? So now like I take that time to just be like, all right. But it's just that anxiety builds to build, get into that first trade. And then when it goes against me, that's when like my mind really, I'm like, crap, dude, now I'm down 250 already. Now I got to make that up and try to make something for the day.
Okay. All right, I'm going to ask you something. No, maybe we could just come up with a solution here for that one, right? So when you're seeking out the first trade, and this is actually something I have a problem with, and um, okay, when you're getting up in the morning, you're excited to trade, and you're like, I'm looking for that first trade. You know, it's almost like we're sort of kind of like rushing that first move, right? Because it's the morning, you see the first morning pivot, and it's just like, oh, this thing looks like it's going to go. But before you take that trade, do you slow it down and give yourself context? I mean, do you look left to see like what has happened before you've taken that trade?
Yeah, so I usually do on a 5 minute look left, and then I typically go out, look at like what's the 4 hour saying, what's the 1 hour saying, and then just kind of based on that, just kind of get a context. That's like, all right, what's my thesis of what's going to be occurring here. But then once I go back to the five, though, I'm very much of that blinders of like, no, just trust what are the indicators saying right now.
And so we're going to go over your stats here, but do you feel like you're better afternoon trader as opposed to a morning trader?
Don't trade in the afternoon. I like to be done by 10 a.m. Mountain Standard.
Okay, okay, okay.
Like I
All right,
mean,
fair enough.
yeah,
Um, all right, but you are getting in at about what, 6
6
a.m.
a.m.
your time,
Yeah, my time. Yeah, so 6 a.m. Mountain Standard, which is 8,
9
is
9 a.m. Eastern.
when I want to be in front of the computer, and just based on what I've tracked, when I'm noticing like there is decent moves that can happen between that 6 to 7 a.m. time frame.
Okay.
Especially with gold. Gold is like clockwork. It's like you get in 6 to 6:15. It's like it's clockwork. Here we go. It's going to do its thing.
Okay, so what instruments are you trading primarily? I know you mentioned gold. What else are you trading?
Yes. So those are the two that I'm focusing on right now.
Okay.
I have done CL and I did silver. Silver really kicked my ass. That one was the one where I was like, all right, dude, what am I doing on this one?
Okay.
But yeah, I'm just focusing on the two right now. And I've changed my strategy from like, I was very much the copy trader. Like, all right, I'm going to have 3 evals and I'm going to copy trade all of them, everything identical. And this week, something just clicked in regards to like me reviewing my journal last week where I ended up blowing some of the evals. And I just realized I was over trading. I was getting into CL, ES, SI, GC at the same time.
At the
And
same
just
time.
the evals, yeah. And like the evals just can't take it. I mean, if you get 4 losses, you're done for the day right there. And so that's where it made me go like, dude, what am I doing? Like I was feeling confident, like so confident in like my exact entries and having my stop losses and all that. But at the end of the day, it was over trading. Like it just can't handle it. And so what I'm doing now actually is I have two evals right now that I'm working on, and I'm focusing. One's going to be strictly gold trading, and the other one's going to be strictly ES trading.
Okay.
And so I'm just going to split what trades go into each one so that I don't put that additional stress and pressure on each one
All
of
right.
them.
How big
And
are
this
your
just goes back to
evals?
my
How big are the evals?
50Ks.
50s. Okay. Well, those are very easy to pass, but also very easy to lose, right? Um, okay. All right. Yeah, that's smart. Okay, so you're not putting a whole lot of pressure on a $2,500 drawdown on the 50,000 eval.
Yeah, on a daily thousand daily loss is more like what I look at. I mean, that's really when you get hit.
Oh, you're on top step. So the end of daily loss is what, 1,000, 1,500, something like that?
1,000.
Oh wow. Oh wow. So you're playing it tight. You're definitely playing it tight.
Well, and yeah, and that's where I realized when I was playing all these other ones all at the same time. I mean, it was just way too easy to hit that negative 1,000. Like it just versus if you literally, I mean, and again, I mean, this goes into what I do at the end of each. After my 10 a.m., I'm like, I look at all the trades that could have happened on ES between 6 and 10, and then just like I said, write down what and more times than not, I mean, you're like profitable if you just get in exactly and you have that exit strategy. So that's where kind of like my aha moment went into like, all right, just focus on one per account versus trading GS and ES and all this and messing yourself up.
All right. So do you give yourself okay? One thing that, especially with the smaller evals like that, right? Um, Strategically, you would want to give yourself more room for error, right? And you literally want to allow yourself to play the day's ATR, right? So, what I mean by that is how many times, I'll give you, I'll just ask you here, how many times you were in a trade, your thesis is confirmed, everything's going, right? And then you either get stopped out or you close your position too soon, and then the trade just goes in the direction you intended it to go. How often does that happen for you?
Um, Stopped out not so much because I've developed that discipline of like literally just leaving my stop loss at the negative or halfway in the red box until it hits that two and then go to break even. And more times than not, if you do that, you don't get stopped out. Like it rarely happens. So what ends up happening more times than not though is me coming back and being like, oh, like a secure the bag flashed, like at the 2.5 or it hits a three and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna get out of it versus just trusting that I'm like, hey, this is just strong. Like, I mean, this is a perfect example that we have up on the screen where that's exactly what I did there, And for me, like I let fear of like, oh, market open's gonna come, I want to get out of this versus just being like, dude, everything's like humming right now. This is great. I could have just let this ride and the trade was free at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right, so now I'm going to ask you this. What insight is the MACD giving you at this point? I have to ask.
strong
I
bullish.
have to ask.
Yeah.
We've literally made the MACD obsolete.
Yeah, okay. The reason I have all these four up is again, you've given us two new instruments, and it's kind of just me like looking and being like, all right, how do these jive, or how are they playing, or how would they have played together if I have all four? It's definitely one of those where like eventually, like I'll remove these two and just stick to the two new ones that you've given us, and be like, all right, just rely on that. So right now, this is just more because it's the first week, and it's me, my analytical self, trying to be like, all right, how's this all jiving? But one thing I have noticed is, when all four of these are like freaking green, dude, it's like it's go time or red. It's just like, dude, you jump in on that, dude, and you're just like, enjoy the
Enjoy the
ride.
ride. I mean, that's what's happening with ES right now, right? It's enjoy the ride. It broke down. I mean, okay, this is a data candle, so bad example, right? But I mean, the concept's very much the same. You got a sell signal, broke away from the EMAs. Actually, you know what? Let me so we've broken away from the EMAs here, and you have your signals to the downside. Now I gotta let me expand that there. So and then of course that's a data candle gave you 2 to 1. No one should be playing data candles, please. No, but the system. I mean that's essentially what a trade looks like every single time. You get a sell signal, confluence with your strength, confluence with your trend, right? You take your shot. In your case, you're cutting it. Your stop is half tight, right?
Yeah.
So now I know you're targeting a 2 to 1, but since you've dynamically altered your risk, you're really doing 4 to 1s.
Yeah, and that was a big aha that when you DM'd me it made me kind of start thinking, I'm like, maybe I should just exit at the 2 to 1 all the time because like at the end of the day, like you said, I mean, it's a 4 to 1 trade that I just did right there. So
It's a 4 to 1. So when I DM'd you, I'm like, wait. So you sent me your stats and you were showing me 2 to 1s, 3 to 1s, 4 to 1s. I'm like, wait, but he's cutting his stop half. So you're dynamically altering your risk to reward to astronomical numbers at this point, right? If you're consistently hitting 2 to 1s, it really means you're hitting 4 to 1s. And if we go back and we look at, you said you're a 45% trader, right?
yeah.
Hitting 4 to 1s? Okay, so now mechanically, mechanically, that is that's perfect mechanically. I mean, there's nothing to argue there, right? So, okay, so now my question for you is mechanically, you have it down. Where do you feel, which would allow me to help you better? Where do you feel you need the help as a trader? Because mechanically, you have this down. So, let's be honest with that question. Where do you feel you need that?
Um, I still definitely think it's like a lot mental, like the psychology of like how do I not allow myself to get so like beat myself up so much if that first trade was a losing trade. Like, what should I go about like doing versus like my mind right now is kind of like, okay, where's the next one? Versus just kind of like, all right, step back, go on.
But let's talk about that. So,
So
so your
definitely.
very first trade in the morning, you're actually discounting it. So you're discounting your risk first thing in the morning.
What do you mean? What do you
Well,
mean?
you've discounted your risk. So instead of, you're cutting your risk in half, right?
Yeah.
So you've discounted your risk by 50%, right? Now,
Hmm.
I'm going to be honest with you. It should not alter your state whatsoever. Just take it. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. You've discounted your risk significantly. So I would just take it and let it not phase me and try to not let it alter your mental state because that's one loss I'm willing to take. Honestly, you're actually doing better than me because I don't discount my risk until I'm able to break it even. You see what I'm saying? So by
Yeah.
you discounting your risk, if you get stopped out, so what, man? You should be proud of yourself. Instead of beating yourself up about that trade, be proud of yourself, right? That you did not take on the full risk. Okay. So now my question is after that happens, are you immediately seeking a reentry? Are you getting like perturbed? Are you getting uh,
It depends. Like today, like with the one that happened that I showed earlier. So obviously that news candle came, and that was just out of nowhere. That I just didn't think through. I mean, Diana puts that every morning, for us to be aware of. So that one was kind of just like I was like, oh shit, okay, I forgot that one. Whatever. Thank goodness I wasn't copy trading today, or else I'd be out of the game right now. And so I just switched over to the other account. And again, like I just looked at the indicators. So I'm like, no, I still think my thesis is right. I think this news candle is just whatever. And so I went into it. And again, just set my half stop loss and it put it again on that one where I was like, okay, well, I'm done. That trade's done. Like I've tried it twice now. So I did re-enter that one based on what the indicators were saying, where I'm like, all right, no, I still believe in this. I think we just had a way jacked up green candle. And at that point, when the second one hit, I was just kind of like, all right, well, that one I went into it ideally. My stop loss didn't get blown through. It actually just, the trade happened as it happened. And so at that point in time, I did get up from my desk and, just took a walk and just kind of like, all right, go recenter. And then I got the next XL alert. And so that's when I sat back down and I'm like, all right, based on me tracking these trades every morning and seeing what's going to happen, it's like, you got to jump in. Like XL's showing up, indicators have shifted direction. I'm going in. Um, and so, yeah, just mechanically, I mean, like I said, at that point, like I was more mechanical where I'm like, I'm just doing this. But not every morning it's like that. I mean, there will be mornings where like that first loss just kind of gets me going. But I think in the past, like I mentioned, like last week when I had my aha moment, I would have switched. I'd be like, screw you, GC. I'm going over to CL now. Or I'm going to SI. And that's what I started realizing was a mistake. Because then now I'm just chasing. I felt like I was just chasing trades versus being like, no, you just wait for the next best setup for this specific one here because there's only going to be 3 or 4 max in that morning time frame.
all right? So okay, I'm just trying to like think about this. So your first trade, why don't we do this? You cut your risk in half, which you did, right? Why don't you make your first trade a micro, just so you can get it out of your system,
Okay.
right? Make your first trade a micro, get it out, shake it off. Your first trade is you stretching, right? To,
I like that.
get it out of your system, right? You're either going to be right or you're going to be wrong, but now you've discounted your risk by 75%,
Yeah, I like that.
right? And if you're still going for a 2 to 1, then you've multiplied your risk significantly there. I mean, if you're hitting a 2 to 1, what is that? That's an 8 to 1 right there. If you've discounted your risk and still targeting a 2 to 1, right? So you've
Okay.
discounted your risk by 25%. You still get your 2 to 1. You still get the thrill of winning, right? Which is your first trade that sets your mood. Or you take that loss and you're like, all right, cool, I got this out of the way. That's it, right? I mean, it's kind of like sex, right? The first time you bust that nut, 5 minutes. The second time, let's go. It's forever now. Just got to get it out of the way.
Time.
Just got to get it out of the way, right? So maybe that's what you would probably implement into your morning routines, just to get that first trade out.
I like that. I actually, yeah, I think that would be pretty wise just based on my morning. I mean, I could probably look at my journal. I'm like, yep, there's that first trade.
So yeah, I think that should be your game plan, right? It doesn't put so much pressure on your first trade in the morning, but it also then just like sort of kind of levels out the morning, and it just helps you just burn that excitement, that first trade excitement, just get it out of your system. And then now you're really putting everything into context. You're putting the market into context, right? But if you insist on being right on your trade, it also lets you go more times. Just saying, right? If you feel like, oh, the trade thesis is correct, right? It lets you go more times without risking the farm. Okay.
Yeah.
The first trade is always the riskiest. That's why I don't like trading market open. Me personally, right? I stay away from market open. I'll trade the morning, but before I take my trades in the morning, I'm making sure I get as much context as to what happened before I even take that trade. Like, where's my range? What's my range? Where are my levels? What's happening here? Right. And then I size in. Remember, we talked about sizing into your trades and buying your winners, right? This sort of kind of like has the same effect because I'm not exposing my initial risk at my entry. You see what I mean? I'm sizing into it as the trade's going. So by virtue of you going and playing with the micro, you're essentially doing the same thing, right?
Okay.
Right. So I think that that's the game plan you need to implement, and I think your portfolio will thank you after. Honestly, I think so. Right.
Yeah, I think that's a great plan.
So let's go over some of your stats here. I know you wanted me to look at some things here, so we could go ahead and share that screen and look over those stats. All right. I like this.
Yeah, looking strong so far.
I think that that would improve by virtue of minimizing that initial trade, right? The risk on that initial trade.
Yeah, that and the other thing that I'm going to start doing because I mean I've gone through so many of these evals where unfortunately I failed. Is that I know that distance to drawdown or distance to daily loss is 1,000, and too many times I allow myself to go all the way to the 1,000. Versus this day here, I hit this and I'm like, dude, I'm down 500. I'm calling it a day. Like I don't need to keep going um, to try to make up. I have that extra 500. So that's something else that I've started to incorporate too. Just kind of be like, all right, now it's not 1,000. It's if I'm down five, it wasn't my day. So I'm hoping that that helps me to be more consistent and just get through a couple of these again.
Okay. Let's fragment this a little bit. Let's look at your gold performance by itself. Okay. So gold, leave it right there. You are just shy of a 2 to 1 here on gold at 42%. Now let's go to ES. Hmm, what are you doing here? All right. Okay. If I'll be honest with you, right, as a trader, there's one thing that I always do, right? And that is I play to my strengths. Okay. Gold isn't playing to your strength. We're not talking like a minute difference here. We're talking a significant difference in performance, right? Let's go back to look at gold. 1.82 to 1 at 42%, right? Look at ES. Okay. Now, there's a number that I want everybody to pay attention to, which I'm sure everybody just missed. What's that number there, Gerardo?
This number, baby,
That's your expectancy.
ability for trade, huh?
That's your expectancy. Let's go to gold.
Wow. I hadn't like stared at it like this.
Yeah. If I can see that number right, $5.57, which is telling me that gold is giving you more of a thrill than actually benefiting you as a trader. Gold is making you feel like a winner and a loser.
Yeah, that's a good call out right there. Wow.
Since your profitability on gold is only $5 a trade, I am terrified of what your drawdown is on that. And so we remove gold, then we pass your evals faster. Okay? So I think you know what the game plan is moving forward. Trade it like you're trading, follow the system, stay away from the exotics. You have no business with the exotics just yet, right?
Okay.
You're trying to pass an eval so that you can get the capital to generate wealth and then go into, take that wealth and fund your own portfolio, right? But then we asked that question in like what I asked you earlier. If you had $100,000 of your own money, would you be okay with a 2 to 1? The answer was yes, right? Of course, right? If you had $100,000 and you saw that stat with gold, would you trade it?
Now, I mean, yeah, if you're calling it out, like clear say it like that, yeah, I'd be like, why am I, like you said, wasting mental energy on this?
That's it, right?
Okay.
And so, man, that's why I like doing these one-on-ones because people have different, their stats are different. It's sometimes alarming. Like some are just killing it with NQ, and they're just getting killed by ES, or they're killing it with ES, but they're getting killed by 6E, and that's because the timing cadence. When we have exposure, it's. You ever played an instrument? Uh, were you ever in band?
Yeah. Yeah, I was in band like in middle school, but I play guitar
Yeah,
now.
yeah. So you know how the instructor is setting the tempo, so you're either on a 4/4 time or a 2/4 time, and you know the beat you're on, right? When
Mhm.
we're staring at an ES chart and then we move to an NQ chart, it's almost like going from, you know, 4 beat time to basically a 16th note because that's the way NQ moves, right? It's just so rapid. Its cadence is so rapid. So especially it's sort of kind of like waking you up from a slumber. You're just like half asleep and then I wake you up and it's like it's go time. It's just like you went from ES where you were just like relaxed and then you went to NQ. You're like, whoa, wait, what are you doing?
Hold on, yeah.
Right? So that's my advice. Like if you are going to change instruments, focus on that instrument, right? Paper trade that instrument until you develop the cadence for that instrument. Otherwise, going from one to the other, you're changing tempos. It never works out.
Yeah, no, that was like I said. I mean, my big aha last week when I realized I'm like I'm just over trading. I'm trading too many because at that point I was trading four, and that's where I narrowed it down to two. But yeah, now we're going to go down to one. So we're going to go down to one. Back to the basics.
Yeah, man. I'm wondering if you like your women that way too, man. That's kind of chaotic, dude.
Don't even ask about that.
Oh man. All right. Well, dude, thank you for just being candid and, Thank you for letting me share this with the members of the community. But it's hopefully they gain a little more insight to maybe what they're doing, what they might be doing wrong. You know, but yeah, I think our next one-on-one, no, we're not recording it. We're not giving these guys freebies. We're not doing that. All right. So
Awesome.
everyone, just make sure you give Gerardo some love here. Um, but yeah. All right, brother. So I'm looking forward to your stats. I know you're going to send them to me every day. We're going to evaluate them, but I'm looking forward to seeing what you could do with just ES. I think you do really, really well.
All right, man. Thanks for the call, Gabe. Appreciate your
Take it
time.
easy, man. Thank you.
Yep.
Peace.